Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute multi-layered marvel that is a single breath. But hey, we aren't just going to talk about breathing in and out. We're going to start incredibly small, literally deep inside your microscopic cells, and then zoom all the way out to the gross anatomy of your lungs. It's a spectacular biological machine, and I am so excited to unpack the whole shebang with you today. Here's our roadmap for today. We're taking a really fun inside-out approach. We'll hit cellular respiration, the three paths of glucose, and ATP, before zooming out to look at our respiratory anatomy and the actual physical mechanics of breathing. Let's get into it. All right, Section 1, Cellular Respiration Explained. We're heading straight into the microscopic world, right to the mitochondria of your cells. You know, when most of us think of respiration, we just picture breathing air in and out. But true cellular respiration, it's not just inhaling. It's fundamentally a catabolic process. In biology, metabolic processes build things up, but catabolic processes break things down. So inside the mitochondria, which, let's be real, we all remember from high school as the powerhouse of the cell, nutrients are oxidized or broken down to unlock vital, life-sustaining energy. And this perfectly highlights the two totally different modes of this cellular engine. On one hand, we've got aerobic respiration, which is what we humans do. It relies heavily on oxygen to oxidize food. But on the other hand, we have anaerobic respiration, which functions entirely without oxygen. Organisms like yeast are absolute masters of this anaerobic process. Moving right along to Section 2, the three paths of glucose. Now, what's really fascinating here is how our body handles its absolute favorite fuel source, glucose. Glucose starts out as a 6-carbon compound, and the very first step is splitting it right down into a 3-carbon compound called pyruvate. Now, depending on the oxygen you've got available at any given moment, that pyruvate takes one of 3 very distinct pathways. In a total absence of oxygen, like in our yeast example, you get ethanol and carbon dioxide. In human mitochondria with plenty of oxygen, you get carbon dioxide, water, and a massive energy payoff. But then there's this tricky middle ground, a lack of oxygen in human muscles. Have you ever been pushing yourself way too hard at the gym or maybe sprinting to catch a train and suddenly felt those intense, agonizing muscle cramps? Well, you've actually experienced that middle pathway firsthand. When you exercise vigorously, your body simply can't pump oxygen to your muscles fast enough. This forces your cells to temporarily switch pathways, leading directly to a painful buildup of lactic acid. It's literally your body's emergency brake, yelling, "Hey, slow down, I need more air." Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, ATP, the energy currency, because honestly, regardless of which pathway your cells take, the ultimate goal is always exactly the same, releasing energy to power your body. So the crucial thing to grasp here is how that energy is stored. It isn't just floating around randomly. It is beautifully, efficiently packaged into ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. You can really think of ATP as the universal energy currency for literally every single biological transaction in your body. Want to move a muscle? You gotta pay some ATP. Need to digest your lunch? Pay some ATP. And your body is basically a mint. It prints this currency right on demand. It starts with a molecule called ADP, or adenosine diphosphate, meaning it only has 2 phosphates. When energy from your food gets released, your body uses it to forcefully attach a 3rd phosphorus molecule to ADP, snapping them together to form ATP. It's just like charging a tiny biological battery, so your cells can use it whenever they need a quick burst of power. All right, Section 4, the respiratory anatomy. We've established why we're so desperate for oxygen, to mince all that precious ATP. But let's zoom way out now. How do we actually pull this oxygen from the world around us? The journey kicks off the second air enters your nose and hits the nasal cavity. And wow, this cavity is incredibly sophisticated. It's loaded with tiny hairs to filter out dust. It's lined with mucus to protect delicate tissues. But get this, it acts exactly like a built-in organic air conditioning unit. It actively warms or cools the incoming air, so it's the absolute perfect temperature by the time it hits your lungs. From there, the air travels down toward your throat, passing a genius little biological traffic cop called the glottis. This vital flap-like structure is the only reason you don't accidentally inhale your lunch. When you swallow food, it snaps right over your windpipe. When you breathe, it covers your food pipe. Simple, elegant, and keeps your food and air from ever mixing. When safely past the glottis, the air moves through this stunning, upside-down branching tree. It drops down the main trunk, the trachea.
From there, it splits into two big branches called the bronchi, one for each lung. Those divide into smaller, grass-like tubes called bronchioles. Finally, the air funnels into millions of tiny, balloon-like air sacs called alveoli. This is the grand destination, folks. Here, dense networks of blood vessels wrap tight around the sacs, pulling that oxygen straight into your bloodstream to be delivered to every cell in your body. So, with the beautiful anatomy of this branching tree mapped out, let's look at Section 5, the mechanics of breathing. How do we physically pump air through this vast network? Here's a wild fact. Your lungs aren't actually muscles. They literally cannot inflate themselves. They completely rely on the heavy-duty hardware surrounding them. You've got the pleura, a protective membrane covering the lungs. You've got the intercostal muscles, which are woven right into your ribcage, and the main event, the diaphragm. It's a thick membrane sitting just below your lungs, separating your chest from your stomach. The entire mechanism boils down to just one word: pressure. When you inhale, your diaphragm pulls down and your intercostal muscles expand your ribs. This makes your chest cavity bigger. Now, simple physics. When volume goes up, pressure goes down. This creates a vacuum that powerfully sucks oxygen-rich air right into your lungs. Exhalation? Just the exact reverse. The cavity shrinks, pressure spikes, and carbon dioxide is forcefully squeezed right out of your body. It's honestly mind-blowing when you put the whole picture together. I mean, take a deep breath right now. Feel those ribs expand. Feel the pressure drop. Consider that magnificent, totally involuntary journey oxygen is taking through your anatomy right this second, entering your blood, fueling billions of microscopic mitochondrial engines, just to mint the ATP that keeps you going. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else is your brilliant biological machinery quietly achieving for you right now? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep staying curious about the amazing machine you live in.